Primetime's been wondering where Michelle Obama's been. She snubbed both Jimmy Carter's funeral and Trump's inauguration. And last week, Barack went to a basketball game all by himself. Turns out Michelle's been busy working on a new podcast, and so far, it's been a flop. The first 2 episodes have been up all day and only gotten a few thousand views on YouTube. Half of them were probably primetime producers. But still, Michelle's spilling the family secrets, like how Barry gets on her nerves. Listen.
Barack, he had to adjust to what on time was for me.
Because he was on that island time.
Well, but, I've got this husband who's like, when it's time to leave, it's 3 o'clock, he's getting up and going to the bathroom. And I was like, dude, like 3 o'clock departure means you've done all that, It's like, don't start looking for your glasses, at the 3 o'clock departure. But he's improved over 30 years of marriage. But that was you must adjust.
Michelle says her husband doesn't really like people, doesn't know how to talk to him, and doesn't even really care.
When a girlfriend comes to visit, it's usually like, you got to stay for 2 days because it's going to take us
so much time to catch up
to check up. Now, Barack's come in, he's come out, and he's like, y'all still talking? He'll sit down for 5 minutes, be like, how are the boys? And the flip side of my husband, right? Because he golfs. And golfing takes as long as the first session of it takes 5 hours to golf. He'll golf with his buddies, come back, and be like, how's X? He's good. It's like, what'd y'all talk about? Nothing.
Hate to break it to Michelle, but guys don't get deep on the course. Normally, when someone rags on their spouse, there's usually a little love. Like, Jimmy, he never listens, but he looks cute in his suit. But that wasn't cute. Did she drop this podcast to distance herself from Barack so she could run for president? Every politician starts a podcast right before they launch their next campaign. Looking at you, Gavin. And it turns out Michelle wasn't the only one who had problems with Barack when he was in office. Michelle says the kids were embarrassed too.
Every year we'd have the turkey pardoning. And that was the one thing that the girls would do at Barack, was to go stand next to him when he pardoned this turkey.
Yes.
And it was cute when they were little, but as they got older, you could see on their faces in the shots of them thinking, I would just poke my eyes out. Just right now, just get me out of here. I'm standing with my father telling these stupid jokes, next to a turkey. So by the time we got to the last turkey pardoning, they were done. They were just like, I'm out. I'm not going.
Michelle also revealing that she didn't want her husband running for president. That makes 2 of us.
Being married to the president of the United States thing.
Yeah.
that none of us kind of banked on. I mean, we knew Barack was smart and, ambitious, but, I think, but you talked me into supporting his run.
I did.
Because I was definitely like, nope, no way, this is crazy. We've done enough crazy stuff.
That's right. That's right. Barack came to me and he's like, I can't convince your sister to go along with this. And I'm like, whoa, go along with what? And it's like, I think I'm going to run for president. And I was like, what? I convinced you to not penalize him for being really good at what he does.
Host of Fox Noticias and co-host of Fox and Friends Weekend, Rachel Campo-Stuffy. Rachel, you think Barack's happy about this podcast?
Well, first of all, Jesse, there's just no better proof that there's been a massive realignment. How boring was all of this? This would have been such interesting stories about like 15 years ago. I'm like, I don't care about the girls and the turkey thing from 20 years ago. I don't care about any of these stories. I didn't even find them funny. Yeah, she's negative. Jesse, listen, she's always been negative and nasty. Do you remember when Melania Trump came on Inauguration Day in 2016 and she came bearing this beautiful, lovely gift, the most gracious gesture as they came to exchange the White House? And Michelle used that moment to mock her and say, well, she complained that, she didn't know where to put the box and how awkward it was for Melania to bring that over. But she's always been like that, like negative about, here's a country that elected her husband as president. We were never good enough. She was never really satisfied with anything. So it doesn't surprise me that she's petty. It's just a little more interesting, Jesse, because these two have, let's face it, been living very separate lives. And it's shocking because we've been told they were the perfect couple, that they were so in love. And yet, ever since he left office, all we've seen is separate lives.
Well, she seems to be very much in love with her brother. To do a podcast with your brother or your sister, I don't know. And what's with the brother? Something seems off with him. What is it?
I don't know. But listen, liberals have been wanting to break into this podcast platform medium for a long time. Conservatives have been so successful at it. It's basically what, helped Donald Trump right into the White House, showing, just who he is. And liberals can't seem to break into it.
Are you saying that Michelle's doing this to maybe break into the podcast thing to launch a political career?
I'm not sure with her. With Gavin, I'm absolutely certain that that's what he's doing. She may just be trying to carve out a separate identity. I think the divorce rumors may be true. But with Gavin Newsom, it's very fascinating, Jesse. He is definitely, this is his way of trying to cover up all his radical liberal sins. And frankly, if it was me deciding, I would tell all these Republicans and all these conservatives that are going on his show, don't normalize him. He's not normal. Remember when they said, don't normalize Donald Trump, and they never let him on all these wonderful shows? Well, guess what? Don't normalize Gavin Newsom and his radical, terrible policies, because he's just using Republicans to get himself into the White House, which will be terrible for this country.
All right. And Rachel's got an interview with Marco Rubio.
I do. I have an exclusive interview en español, Jesse.
Oh.
Tomorrow at 4 p.m., Marco Rubio and I sit down. We talk about everything from the border to what's going on in Panama, and the fact that Donald Trump is really trying to change things in the Western Hemisphere and show everybody that there's a new sheriff in town. So
all right.
we'll
tell the
that.
secretary I said hello, and you're not doing a podcast. Hola. You're not doing a podcast with Sean, are you? You guys.
We did have a podcast together.
All right.
We love each other.
All right. You'd never say anything bad about him, I'm sure. Rachel,
nah.
And tell your husband I said hi to.
I sure will.
All right.
Bye. Adios, Jesse.
Adios.